Hey, it's Mike with the Westbury Yamaha YouTube channel, and today I want to talk about why I decided to buy this CFMoto Ibex 450. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to this channel. It's run by me, my father-in-law Glenn, and we mostly focus on motorcycle content. 10 years ago, in 2016, I had two motorcycles. I had a Yamaha TTR 125, which is a dirt-only, fairly small trail bike, and I also had a Kawasaki Ninja 250, which is a beginner sport bike, street only. I mainly got the Ninja so I could practice different street riding techniques, but my passion really was off-road. I just wanted to also be able to ride on-road. I got the Ninja because it was from my neighbor. It was a good price. After about a year, though, I kind of got to where I didn't really like the style of that bike, and I'd kind of outgrown it as far as my street ability, I guess you could say. And then same with my dirt bike. I kind of got my skills got good enough to where I was good enough on it that I was ready for something else. So what I thought in my mind was the best decision was, why not sell both of those bikes and get one dual sport? So that's what I did. I ended up getting a Yamaha XT250, which actually was a really nice dual sport. I liked it. It was good for the type of street riding that I did, which is mostly county roads out here where I live. And it was still a really good dirt bike. I felt like it was the next step up as far as engine power goes. So within about a year, I found myself actually kind of wanting a street-oriented bike again, and kind of seeing some of the issues I had with that XT250 on the road. I was also watching a lot of YouTube videos on moto camping, and I go out to Arkansas quite a bit, and I thought, you know, maybe kind of cool to get a street-oriented bike that would actually be a lot of fun out there as well. My two criteria when I started looking for these bikes was, number one, price. When you're you know, going from one bike to two bikes, you know, it's a lot easier to justify, I guess, the hobby if it's not super expensive. And the second criteria, believe it or not, was low seat height. I'm a short lightweight rider, and almost a lot of street bikes, okay, let me take that back. A lot of adventure bikes sit way too high for a short, lightweight rider. Now, yeah, you can get on it once you start moving, but when you get to a stoplight or a stop sign or something and you have to put your foot down, it gets really fatiguing really quickly to hold up something super heavy that's very high. Plus, when you're still relatively new to adventure riding, the low seat height is very confidence inspiring, especially if you're a short rider. My search led to three different bikes that I could potentially go with. One was the Honda Rebel 300. I know it's not an adventure bike, but again, I was saying low seat height and street bike was what I was looking for. Another one was the Honda CB500X, and then the last one, the Kawasaki Versys X300. And I ended up going with the X300. The X300 is the same motor that was in the Ninja 300, so I was kind of already used to going from a Ninja 250, having to kind of rev a motor to get some power. But I was actually quite impressed when I got on that 300 the first time I took it off-road. It did significantly better than I thought. Now, I will say that probably before I ever took it off-road, I did put some Kenda big block tires on it, because I've been through that route of not having good tires and just constantly laying my bike down. So I knew immediately I wanted some better dirt tires. But it was really different taking that 300, that Versys 300 off-road. It was just a different feel. You know, it's almost like a different sport. So, of course, you want lightweight, you want nimble whenever you're riding on the dirt, but there's also some joy in just doing a forest road or an easy trail on a bike that feels planted and feels really responsive. After having the bike for a year, though, I kind of came to the same conclusion that I think a lot of people that buy that Versys 300 comes to, which is there ever going to be a Versys 400? You know, there was all kind of rumors on the internet and clickbait videos talking about, will they release a 400? And it seemed like they would. Kawasaki would, because that's what they did with the Ninja. They had the Ninja 300, they killed it and replaced it with the Ninja 400. It was better in every regard. It was lighter, it was more power, everything you wanted. And I told myself, as soon as they come out with that Ninja 400, I'm going to sell my 300 and buy a 400. But I waited, that day never came. Now, I was still satisfied with my 300, but I just always wished it was a 400, mainly whenever you're doing the top speed highway stuff. Off-road, the 300 actually didn't feel bad at all, but when you were revved out on a highway doing, you know, let's say 70 or 80, you didn't have any passing power at all. That was my main concern I had with the bike. But you know, overall, it was still a really fun bike. I'd pretty much given up hope that Kawasaki would ever release that Versys X300. And last summer, Glenn actually mentioned to me, he said, have you looked at the Ibex 450? It's like, Ibex 450? No, I hadn't heard of it. So I started researching it. He planted that seed in my mind. I watched, let's see, Dork in the Road did a video on it. Big Rock Moto did a video on it, even Daily Rider. I watched all of those, and everything just kind of made me excited about the bike. I looked at the spec sheet, compared it to my X300, and almost every single category it beat it on. And again, remember my top two things that I was looking for in a street bike, which was low price, low seat height. It had both of it. It even had that adjustment that you could lower the bike if the stock height was too high for you, which was really cool for a guy like me. The only thing that it really was compromised on is this bike is heavier. I think it's like 40 to 50 pounds heavier. It is somewhat noticeable that it's heavier, but that was the one compromise I was going to have to make to pretty much get an upgrade in every other category. And then another thing I kind of liked about this bike is CFMoto had an Adventura 650 a couple years ago when I was first kind of looking at CFMoto when they were bringing motorcycles to the scene, and I remember realizing it's a Versys 650 clone. And I kind of thought to myself, I'm not going to go with CFMoto, it's just more Chinese ripoffs. And it didn't really seem like it was priced that much better than a Versys 650. So I remember thinking, yeah, I don't know about that. What I like about this bike, though, is it's not a clone of another bike. I feel like this is something that CFMoto saw what people were asking for and actually designed something for that gap. So it's original. It's not just some clone or knockoff of another bike. So now I bet a question that you guys are wondering now is, why didn't I wait and look into the Kawasaki KLE 500? Well, I actually did. I was considering buying one of these, and then Kawasaki kind of started dropping hints that they were going to be releasing a KLE 500, and I thought, wow, I actually have an Eliminator 450 and I love the motor on it, and so putting that in a Versys 300, that would be kind of cool. So I waited and they kind of, you know, I was waiting, and then they released all the specs, and I looked over the spec sheet, and I really think it's a cool bike. There's a lot of things about it that seem really cool, most notably that it's a Kawasaki, also that 450 motor. The two things, however, that turned me off was ground clearance on the bike, and then also that high seat height. Unfortunately, every inch matters whenever you're you know, I pretty much felt like I was maxed out on that 300. I didn't want to go any taller if I could avoid it. And that KLE 500 was taller. The other thing was the KLE says it has a lower ground clearance than that X300, which seems bizarre to me because I felt like the X300 needed a little more ground clearance. Now, I hate to complain about that because my number one thing is seat height. Number two is ground clearance, and sometimes to get more ground clearance, you got to lose some seat height. You know, something going on in there. Somehow the XT250 pulled it off, but that's beside the point. But I actually had issues with that X300 off-road with the ground clearance. I broke the kickstand sensor once on it, and in another video that I have on one of my other channels, I actually broke the shift shaft on it. Now, I did focus mostly on the positives when I was talking about this bike. There definitely were some negatives to consider. I will make a future video highlighting those negatives, who this bike is not for, and some of the things that I've already kind of not liked so much about the bike. So make sure you subscribe so you see those, and leave me a comment if there's any questions you have on this bike, or if you think I should have considered a different bike whenever I was making this purchase. Again, thanks for watching. Have a nice day.